Hi everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a fun little card making process to share with you, and I'm going to be using some stamp sets from Mama Elephant. This is the stamp set I'm going to be using for my sentiment here, and I'm going to be using the Season's Greetings sentiment from this set called Jingle Greetings. And I'm also going to be using a bunch of the different images from this stamp set. This set's called Merry Mantle, and this is just so adorable. I love all of the little bits and pieces of this set, and I'm also going to be using some of the images from A Berry Christmas, and that's this final stamp set here that I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be using the Christmas tree from this set and the two little presents. Now I have all of the dies for these sets as well, and so I'm going to be using the stamps and dies to create a little scene for my card today. I'm also going to be using the largest die from this Stitched Rectangle Stacks die set from My Favorite Things, and that's just going to help me create the card front for my card. Now I'm going to show you the finished card here so that you can see how my little scene came together and looks when it's all finished. And then I'm going to take you through the process for making this really fun little card. So you can see this is an A2 card, it's a landscape and it's top folding. And I'm going to start out here with some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm going to stamp these images out with some Memento Tuxedo black ink onto my paper. And I'm just using my Tim Holtz stamping platform here to stamp out these different images because I'm going to have to stamp them more than once. And the beautiful thing about the stamping platform is that I can do that without any problems at all. Now I'm going to color all of my images here with Copic markers, and I'm going to leave a list at the end of the video in the description box below so that you can check in that description box what Copic markers I used here, but I'm also trying to show you the lids to the left of my coloring here so you can see what I did. Now I colored this tree once and really did not like how it turned out. It just came out a little bit too dark, and so I did go back after and I restamp this image and I color it again so that it's a little bit brighter and lighter. So I started off by using some kind of more muted greens, and then I thought I might go back in with my Y13 and my YG06, that's a yellow green, and it just did not work out at all for me. So like I said, I just decided to start over. So I am going to completely finish coloring it, and I'm going to I decided not to cut that out. I just leave that in so that you can see. Maybe this is a look that you like. Maybe this darker green is, you don't mind that, but for the image that I wanted, or for the scene that I wanted to create, I wanted my Christmas tree to be a little bit brighter. So I think the first time I used this stamp set, I actually watercolored the Christmas tree. And I'm not even sure if I've colored this image with my Copics before, so this was a bit of an experiment for sure. So you can see I'm just using some combinations of reds and blues for the little balls on my Christmas tree, and I'm going to start coloring that little fireplace image. And I just love the combination of reds that I've used here, and like I said, I have tried to show you the lids so that you can see which color combinations I went with, and then I will leave all of the colors listed in the description box below. So this is kind of almost more like a pinker red, and then this really dark color that is kind of like a contrast, and then an even darker tone of that. So I think this is a combination of R35, R37, and maybe R89 if I recall. But you should be able to see there, and then once again reference that list at the end. I'm not going to show you all of the images here, coloring all of the images. I'm just going to show you some of them. It's just really basic Copic coloring. I am not you know, a professional Copic artist. I just like using Copics because they're super easy to use, and it's a really fun and easy way to colorize the different little images for your card. So this little guy I'm coloring with, I believe this is E43 and maybe E77. Just wanted to go with a lighter E color and then just put in a little bit of a darker shading there, so you can just see I'm going through the process there. I'm going to give this little guy a little red Santa hat and just a little, just going to color his body the same colors as his head, and then he's holding a little present there. I'm going to use a little bit of R20 for his cheeks, and I am going to color the other little critter on this card with some grays, and I'm going to use the W gray family for that, the warm grays, to color the other little critter. So you can see here I'm recoloring my tree here, so I'm going in with that YG06, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to flick in some darker green over top of the light to create sort of almost like a little bit of an impression of the pine needles. And I like how that turns out a lot better than the first time. So I'm just going to give this a little second or two to dry, and I'm going to go in with my reds, and I'm going to color the little Christmas balls here. So I'm just going to go in with a lighter shade of red or blue, and then go in with a darker shade just to do a little bit of shading. And then I'm going to just use that Y13 to color the little stars on the tree as well. Going to use a couple shades of brown, a lighter and a darker, for that tree trunk. So just coloring the whole thing with a lighter brown, and then just doing a little bit of shading just at the very top of the stump, where perhaps the tree is casting a bit of a shadow on the stump of the tree, or the bottom of the tree. And now you can see that I'm just flicking in a little bit of color with that darker green just to give it a little bit of an impression of those pine needles, and then I'll just blend that out a little bit with the YG06 again. And I like that a lot better than that darker. I'm going to show you the other tree up against this one when I'm all done, so that you can kind of see the difference between the two and decide which color combination you think worked better. Maybe you would, maybe you prefer the darker tree. It kind of depends on what other greens you're using for your scene. So I'm just finishing up adding some shading to those little balls. And there's that other tree. It's super dark. The brighter green, I just think, looks a lot better. So I'm going to take the die here, and I'm going to die cut my little tree out and all of my other little pieces. Now I'm taking a little piece of pattern paper. This is from Create Paper Journey, the 6x6 pad, and it kind of looks like cork. And I thought that was perfect for creating the floor of my little scene in my little living room. And I'm going to also use a piece of the 6x6 pattern paper from the Lawn Fawn Nitpicky paper pad from last Christmas. And this is just a really nice tone-on-tone gray that kind of gives the impression of the walls of the living room. So I wanted it to kind of look like it was wallpaper or some kind of texture in the background. Now I'm going to take that stitched rectangle die, and I'm going to cut this out just so that it's got that stitched detail around the edges. Then I'm just going to take my tweezers, and I'm going to just kind of place everything down and create my little scene here, and just decide what placement I am going to use here for my little scene. My idea was that I kind of wanted the fireplace to be a little bit more centered, and then have the other little bits and pieces created around it. And then just being mindful of leaving a spot up at the top for my little greeting that I wanted to stamp at the top of my card. So just now that I've got all of those little pieces colored, and I've got them all die cut out with the dies, just taking them and placing them on my little card front here, just to get an idea of where I want things. I've got a lot of little bits and pieces, which I think is super cute. There's the little candles on the mantle, there's the little cookies and milk or tea for Santa, and so on. So this is just really sweet. I like how this turns out in the end. And there's the season's greetings that's going to go up at the top. I'm actually going to stamp that out with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. So I'm just taking my anti-static powder tool there and preparing that, because I am going to do a little bit of clear embossing over top of this. So I've put this into my Misty this time, and I'm just stamping this out with that VersaFine black ink. And I'm just going to stamp that a couple of times so that I've got a nice amount there to emboss. And I'm just going to take my little Nouveau spoon here, and I'm going to put that clear embossing powder from Ranger over top of my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Just going to tap it off and then put another little coat on top just to make sure that I've got plenty on there. I'm going to take a little paintbrush and make sure that I've gotten rid of all of that extra embossing powder that's above the greeting. I could still see a little bit on there. And then I'm just going to take my heat tool and I'm going to heat up that embossing powder so that it just gives a little bit of dimension and shine to that sentiment. Now this is I believe this is Cherry Cobbler cardstock from Stampin' Up, and that's going to be my card base. So you can see I just left a little bit of a border at the top and bottom, above and below my card front, just to give a little bit of extra detail there. And now I'm just taking my Nouveau Crystal glaze and I'm adding a little bit of dimensional detail to a bunch of the little spots on my card. So anywhere where there's a little Christmas ball or anything that I wanted to give dimension to. So any of the little bits and pieces, the fire or whatever. And now I'm just taking some stickles, and this is stickles in diamond, and I'm going to add that to the Santa hats. And I'm now going to take my Nouveau glitter pen or shimmer pen, and I'm going to add some shimmer to a bunch of different spots. And I'm actually going to take stickles in a couple of other colors. I'm going to use the Christmas red stickles and the holly stickles to add some detail to my little scene as well. I just love doing that because it just creates a little bit of sparkle and shine and some dimension. So I really wanted to add dimension with that crystal glaze and some stickles to my card front here. And I'm just going to go back in with that crystal glaze and add some more to my little candles and my fire and just anywhere where I wanted some dimension added on. Going to add some more sparkle and shine to my little Christmas stockings there with my Nouveau shimmer pen as well. Now I'm going to take my Jelly Roll pen in white and add a little bit of a highlight to my little critter's cheeks. And I'm also going to add a little bit of a highlight to the top of my little birdie's heads up top there. And then I'm going to take the Sakura Glaze pen in black, the Jelly Roll Black glaze pen, and I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to the little noses of the little critters and actually the eyes of the little birds. And this is a really dimensional glaze pen. It adds that really nice shiny black to different little areas, and they're really raised as well when you're done. I actually end up adding a little dot of that glaze to the tops of the stockings where they'd be attached to the fireplace, almost kind of like a little tack, and I like how that finishes that off as well. So my card's almost finished here. I really like how it turned out. There's a lot on this scene. There's a lot of little bits and pieces. I've added some dimensional foam adhesive to little places where I stuck the die cut pieces to the front of the card where I wanted them to be raised up off the card. So anything that's on top of another image and is on the very top, I added a little bit of foam adhesive. And I'm just showing you here where I added the red or the Christmas red stickles, and this is the holly stickles, and I just added a little bit of that here and there to the Christmas tree, and I'm just going to show you that here where I just added tiny little bits, and it just adds a nice little sparkle and shine to the tree. I really like how this turned out. I think it's a really fun greeting card for Christmas, and I'm excited to give it to somebody. I know that the people that I give my cards to usually really appreciate them. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought of my card today, or if you have questions or any kind of comment at all. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, guys. I'll see you another time. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.